I think that a lack of closure is necessary in order to finish things, to close things. I notice this a lot with music and creativity of different kinds, where, for instance, if I get into a big sort of creative rush, a moment when I'm making a lot of things, I get this feeling almost as if I should make the most of that energy and finish as many things as possible. And the emphasis is always placed on finishing stuff. So that, for instance, you have like a mental checklist of things that you could finish. You could finish recording that guitar part, and finish writing that lyric, and finish sort of doing that and that. And you feel as if, since you're doing one or two of them, why not do them all? Since you've activated the motors, why not sort of get through the list? And I think that sometimes is a fallacy. I don't know if fallacy is the word, but that actually getting through the list implies that you want to reach an end of absolute stillness. There's this nervous, obsessive desire for some sort of an orgasmic release once you finish everything. It's like, I'm going to get through all of the objects, all of the items on this list, and then I'm going to be able to sort of sit back and relax. There's a desire for peace, for relaxing, to sort of get rid of this nervous, creative energy. And I think more and more that that's a mistake in my case. That actually you should not trust the list. You shouldn't trust the checklist. You should trust your gut. If you get the feeling that, you've done enough for today, that you've spent enough energy today, then trust your gut on that. Because pushing yourself to finish the list, as I said, it's a desire for stopping. It's a desire for the list to stop so that you can say, I did it all. When actually, what you want to do with creativity is continue creating, continue making. You want to, in a sense, you would probably prefer to wake up tomorrow and still have items on that list, because then you have a map to guide you tomorrow. Having incompletion today is like a map for your will tomorrow. And the neurotic desire to erase all of the future desires, to erase the list so that you're in a blank slate. It's well intentioned, I think, because it's a desire. You're trying to free tomorrow from all of the bonds of today. You're saying, if tomorrow I could wake up with a blank slate, with no obligations on my to-do list, then I could do anything I wanted. But maybe the problem is that this list wasn't really all of the things you wanted to do. It couldn't be. By erasing it and believing that it was a list of everything you wanted to do, you cut yourself off from the gut, from the drive that was creating that list in the first place. It's like sort of the list is a tree, and if you grow that list, it will give you more things to do. Meaning that your desires will be revealed to you like sort of branches that grow from a tree. You do one thing, and then once you've done that thing, you will see clearly that, now I see the next step. Now I see that I want to go in this direction. And then when you do that thing, you'll see, yes, now that I've done this and that, I see clearly that these other three things are also things that I want to do. It's important to know what you want to do. It's important to discover your will. And this kind of list making is a good way for me of allowing that tree to grow, of giving it the soil to grow. On the other hand, the desire to destroy that list is like a desire to cut the tree that is revealing you all the different branches that your desires could go down. A blank slate is like a cut tree. You need to then wait for it to grow again, and it takes a lot of time. In a sense, incompletion, leaving things incomplete, is like leaving manure on the soil so that it can continue growing. Or like sort of allowing the spoiled fruit, the incompleteness, fall to the ground and fertilize the earth. Blank slate is a neurotic in the sense that it's a desire for cleanliness. It's a desire to wash all of the germs off your hands. It literally is a desire for obsessive cleanliness. You want to clean the slate. But what does that mean? It means that you're getting rid of all the germs, of all the manure that was allowing things to grow. Things grow from manure, from unclean things, therefore from things that are incomplete, things that are still sort of growing, that haven't finished growing. And so, yeah, with songs it happens, with music it happens. And I mean, for instance, in daily life, I think this happens a lot, that we let ourselves be guided by these sort of numbers on the list. Like, you're watching movies, for instance, and you're thinking, okay, I have 3 more movies to watch in my to-watch list. And you think, I could watch them all today and spend, 6 hours watching movies, and then I would clean the slate. I would, finish watching. I would finish all these things that I need to do. Or you're reading a book, and there's like 5 chapters left, and you read 3 of them, and by the end of the 3rd chapter, you're fully satisfied. Your gut says, this is a perfect place to stop reading. But your ego says, but if I make an extra effort, I can finish the book. And it's so important for the ego to finish things, to clean the slate, even when the gut doesn't want to. Right? It's like Alan Watts has a perfect story about this, that he says, if the point of music was to reach the end of the song, then in orchestras, the fastest composers would be the most successful. But obviously we recognize the absurdity in that, because the point in listening to an orchestra playing is in savoring the moment, savoring the music as it goes along. You don't want to reach the end of the music. You don't want it to end. And yet you do want it to move towards the end. Right? You don't want to stop it from ending, but you don't want it to end either. There's a middle ground where you want to go with it as it moves. And I think that the same thing goes for creativity and self-expression, that you... Sometimes I have this desire to sort of get all of my to-do list done, thinking that that way I'm going to be more productive, that that's the best way to do all the things I want to do, because clearly if they are on my to-do list, it means that I want to do them, without realizing that by forcing myself to do them, I'm not actually wanting to, I'm not doing it out of a will, I'm doing it out of enforcing. And B, it's sort of, it's actually less productive. Because then you wake up the next day and your mind's a blank. You don't have the guidance of the map. And the map was a link to your gut. It looked as if it was a very left brain kind of thing. It's a list of to-do things. But actually, it's deceptive. It's a link to the right brain. It's a link to the gut. It has more the quality of a talisman or some sort of a magical apparatus than that of a pure list. Of a list. And so, if you leave things incomplete, then you wake up the next day and you know perfectly well what you want to do. You have a direct link to your gut. You have more of a union between the left and the right brain. You know what you want to do, where you're going. If you destroy that, you think you're doing it a favor because you think that you're achieving your goals. But actually, you're putting a big blockage towards continuing your journey. You're considering your journey like that conductor who thinks that the music needs to stop. It's kind of a death drive. If you want the orchestra to finish playing already, to be so fast that it just gets rid of the music, then you're not really, you're not enjoying the music, you're not doing music. I mean, within this metaphor, obviously we're accounting for all the weird varieties of avant-garde music where such a kind of strange playing of the orchestra would be desirable, but in that case a different set of rules would apply, where, you know what I mean, in the metaphor the orchestra isn't really an orchestra. We're talking about wanting things to end for the sake of ending, not for the sake of them existing. You want them to exist in order that they end. You're not reading the book in order to read it. You're reading the book in order to finish it. So what does that mean? Right? You're sort of, it's kind of like a death drive in that sense. That you're, perfectionism in that sense is a death drive. And a certain degree of incompletion, of non-closure, is necessary for perfection, for completeness. Non-closure is necessary for perfection. Anyway, thanks for watching.